Today we're going to be looking at Pokémon Colosseum for the GameCube. The game starts with a cutscene that involves watching some guy blow up a building containing a load of bald men with his Umbreon, steal a piece of unknown technology, run out of the building, drive away in a scooter with an Espeon and an Umbreon in a sidecar, and then the guy proceeds to blow up even more of the building with people in it, presumably killing them. There's no intro. That is, well, there is, because that's the intro. We don't get context. There's no like, oh, welcome to the world of Pokemon. It's just terrorism immediately. And that's how you know a game's going to be good, when it starts with heinous war crimes. Turns out that this guy who blows up the building is us. This is Wes, our main character, and it's our player character. He is, as I said, he's a terrorist, apparently. This is a real Pokemon game that was made, licensed by Game Freak and published by Nintendo. It's real. This is not a fan game where you play as Team Rocket. This is real. I cannot stress this enough. It's crazy, and I wish Pokemon did it nowadays. Wes stops off at whatever the fuck outskirts Stand is meant to be with his Espeon and Umbreon, and we see two men who are definitely not committing heinous acts against humanity, and then we enter the building. We fight some guy that has the same name as the male genitalia, and we win. We then go to a place called Phoenix City and catch the same two gentlemen from before, in the middle of my favourite leisurely activity, which is kidnapping someone. After Wes beats them, he then rescues the girl that is in this sack that they were carrying. We can name this girl, which means that they're going to be important, which is bad, because she looks like a piece of uncooked meat. I would like to point out something real quick before we continue. We get, much of it like with Wes, we get a option of some pre-given names and the option to enter in our own name. One of the options is yucky, but considering the fact that I'm going with canon names for this playthrough, her name is Rui. Alright, before we keep on going, I feel like I should be completely honest with my past experiences with this game, because this is my first, the first game of the playing all the Pokemon games I've actually already played. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about my experience with the game. So the reason why I played this game already is because there's a YouTuber called Jello Apocalypse. A lot of people have a lot of different views on him. Some people say he's bad. Some people, like me, say that he's pretty good. I really like him. He's not my favourite YouTuber. That would, of course, be the Underdogs. If you haven't seen the Underdogs, please go and watch them. They're superb. But Jello Apocalypse has probably made the video that was the most important to me, which is a trilogy of videos called the Dogs in Love Trilogy. It's a weird title, and the title is just about the worst thing about it. The rest of it is brilliant, and they've actually, this is not a joke, they have changed my life. Like, I'm not joking. Anyway, despite the title, I swear there is no weird furry stuff in it, which is good, because if there was, I would probably, not even probably, I would hate it. I would absolutely despise it. Anyway, it's good. It's a good trilogy of videos, and I saw them and I thought, this is really funny. It didn't change my life. That was an exaggeration. But they're good. They are really funny, which is, and kind of made me realize, hang on a minute, Let's Plays don't need to just be, guys, look at this that happened in this game, and they can be funny. You can make weird little narratives and stuff, and just be odd, and people, such as me, will love it. So that's what I like to do. I have recommend watching all three of them. You don't need to. Either way, because Dogs in Love involves playing Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which is the sequel, which I haven't actually watched before. So anyway, that was my little personal tidbit about Pokemon Colosseum. So, let's get back to the video. Don't click off quite yet, because I've still got quite a few more things I want to say. Anyway, next waits up with Mayor Escade, or however the fuck you pronounce it, and he finds out that Rui can see these things called Shadow Pokemon, which, I'll be real here, that might be the edgiest thing ever. Anyway, Wes can actually steal these Shadow Pokemon using technology that he stole at the beginning of the game. You know when he steals that weird glove thingy? Yeah, that's a Shadow Pokemon stealer device thingy. This is, admittedly, cool as fuck, but however, there are some really big negatives to this device. It's called the Snag'em device, by the way. Number one, this is the only way to get Pokemon. There are no wild Pokemon in this game at all. And number two, they're really hard to catch because all the Shadow Pokemon know Shadow Rush, which is a recoil move, meaning that the Shadow Pokemon will take damage upon using it, which is, as you can imagine, really bad. It's not 2, it's more than 2, whatever. Number 3 is that you have to catch them while fighting other Pokemon, because every battle in this game is a double battle. And number 4, you can only catch Shadow Pokemon. Not all Pokemon are Shadow. Some of them are just regular. You can only catch Shadow though. There are approximately, from my memory, approximately 32 available Pokemon in this game. This is less than any other Pokemon game by a lot. For reference, there's 151 Pokemon in the original game. There's 32 here. This is insane. Number 4, if you fail to catch the Pokemon and forget to save, then you won't get another opportunity to catch the Pokemon for a long time. And I don't just mean long time as in like, until you beat the next important battle. I mean end of the game long time. And number 5, if you are caught by the authorities, you could be sentenced for 5 years in prison, as well as receiving a fine. Anyway, the mayor tells Wes to go to the Pokemon Colosseum. And when he gets there, he encounters Team Snag'em, a criminal organisation that, when written backwards, spells out Megan's Meat. We then find out that Wes is a former member of Megan's Meat, which makes him not just a terrorist, but a member of organised crime, which is even worse, somehow. So the next thing we do is go to Outskirts Stand, because it's the only place that you can actually buy Pokeballs in Ouray, because Pokemon aren't in Ouray, of course, so why would anyone stock Pokeballs? But so, Outskirts Stand, canonically, this is a bit of Pokemon Colosseum lore for you guys, canonically, Outskirts Stand stocks Pokeballs, because of it's like a novelty thing, and they haven't sold the Pokeballs to anyone for a long time, so Wes is their first customer in, forever, and Outskirts Stand is the only place you can buy Pokeballs, which is cool in terms of lore, but it's yeah, okay, but I have to go back here every time you want to get Pokeballs. Imagine that in a modern Pokemon game, people would be pissed. Anyway, what we do is we buy 1 Great Ball, and we buy 1 Pokeball. And we do this for the following reason. There's a glitch in this game, which means if you use a Pokeball in your first turn, and then on the second turn you switch the place of the Pokeball, it clones the Pokeball. And this works for any Pokeball, by the way, including the Master Ball. Right, just before we keep going, I just wanted to point something out real quick. None of these clips are mine. I did, of course, play the game. However, I forgot to record. I didn't record, and I'm very sorry about that, guys. So what I did instead is I pulled all these clips from YouTube, basically, which may or may not have been a brilliant idea, but you know, it's the best I can do in this situation, other than going back and playing the game again, which as much as I love this game, I don't really want to just go through the entirety of this game and play it all again and get rid of all the clips, because that would make this whole editing process way too long. And yep, that's all I wanted to say. So all the clips that I'm showing you today have come from this YouTube channel. I will show an image of their channel up right now with their name, and I thank them so very much for giving us this long play. Yeah, thank you so much, and on with the video. When we go back into the mayor's house, we find some grunts and Mirror B, the sexiest man alive. Mirror B leaves, and so does the 3 other grunts, wearing red, blue and green respectively. Wes also fights 2 other grunts who have the most ridiculous names that I've ever seen, being Treadley and Folly. Once he beats him, he goes outside, and we have a choice. We can fight the red grunt, the blue grunt, or the green grunt. Now this is actually, at least depending on, you know, your team building and all that, this could be a pretty pivotal decision in your playthrough, because each one corresponds to a Johto starter that you'll get. The red one has Quilava, the blue one has Croconaw, and the green one has Bayleaf. We take Croconaw because, you see, I have an established rule in my in these videos where you can't use the same Pokemon twice in a row, but you get one exception per playthrough. And considering the fact that I don't know if you saw my Crystal video, you would see that I used Chikorita in that. And while I would be able to use Chikorita, however, I also used Umbreon in that video. And Umbreon, of course, I'm using on my team, and I will be, for the spoiler, I guess, I will be using Umbreon on my team for the duration of my playthrough. So I can't choose him. And Quilava I'm saving for later, so we're gonna go with Croconaw. The next thing that we can do is go to the pre-gym. There's a pre-gym in Ore, which is, oh I didn't tell you, but Ore is the name of the region, like how the one in red and blue is Kanto, the one in gold and silver is Johto. This one's Ore. Anyway, it's Ore's unofficial gym. The trainers there, like the gym trainers, are levels 26 to 27. However, the gym leader is at level 42, which is out of our reach by a lot at the moment. So we'll come back later. And as we leave the town, we run into this Sephiroth-looking guy who's definitely not going to be the main antagonist. Now we can go to 2 new locations. The construction lot, which is empty, and Pirate Town, which is an absolute dump of a town full of criminals, thugs, and people who use Toxic Stool on Pokemon Showdown. As if Ore wasn't successful enough already. And according to one of the locals, this is not a joke, by the way, this is real. According to one of the locals, they don't greet each other, they battle each other. It's like if you said hello to someone, and then they proceeded to plant a knife on you. There is even a duel square where everyone just tries to fucking kill each other. However, this is kinda good because these people all have shadow Pokemon, which is cool because I can catch them and use them. Although I'm gonna catch all of them, but I'm only gonna use the ones that I like. which is why I called him Mischievous. Okay, maybe that's not true. The reason why I caught Mischievous is because, you see, there's a glitch in this game, which means that NPC trainers don't seem to know what a type immunity is. They can see super effective moves and not very effective moves, but they don't see immunities. So, for example, when facing an Embryon, an Espeon owned by an NPC trainer might keep on trying to use Psybeam, which doesn't do any damage because Dark Cats are immune to psychic damage. Mischievous, however, has 3 total immunities: Fighting, Normal, and Ground because of Levitate. And yeah, that's really good, particularly when you consider the fact that Ground is the same type as the move Earthquake, which is really, really scary in this game as it hits all Pokemon of the field, and Normal and Fighting are also very, very common types. I also got a Noctowl because it has Hypnosis, which can send other Pokemon to sleep and make them easier to catch. During this, when you're at the Duel Square, one of the characters tries to flirt with Wes, which is not only weird, just because, like, what the fuck, it's even worse because Wes is 17 years old, which in the UK is fine because the age of consent is 16. However, Ouray is based on Arizona in the US, and the age of consent is 18 over there, which makes this random stranger the biggest criminal in all of Ouray. Anyway, Wes goes into this guy called Duking's house and he tells us to piss off. So, surely that's it, right? There's nothing else to do here. Well, if Wes goes up to the bookcase in the corner of the room and interacts with it, there's a whole other room on the other side. If he goes in, there's some kids who tells Wes to leave, so Wes has to leave again, and then we find out that there's some kid called Silver that's complaining about Mirabee doing something devious. Through a lot of talking with random strangers, we find out that Silver doesn't just complain about sexy men, he also steals construction equipment and also calls some random guy in a lab coat to seemingly die right in front of us. Wes retrieves the gear and gives it back, giving the Colosseum its power back. The next thing we do is enter the Colosseum battle, because now the Colosseum's power is back, we can go to the Colosseum and do a battle, because currently the evil Team Cypher, which is basically just another variation of Team Snag'em, but they do all the Shadow Pokemon stuff, are currently running the Pokemon Colosseum, and if you win, they take you to their headquarters. You get a Shadow Pokemon, which is good, because that means that we can infiltrate them. Anyway, Duking's Plusle has been kidnapped, which I'm sure is the worst of our worries with that terrorist organisation. Sorry, cut the burp out. And now Wes has to rescue his Plusle. We beat everything to death in the Pyrite build with the Psychic Kitty Cat. And we gain access to Pyrite Cave, which is really just a maze full of people who want to stab him. Wes finds this guy called Zalo there, and he steals his Swablu because Swablu is really cute, and it can use Sing to lullaby other Pokemon to sleep. Okay, I should have probably made something clear earlier. This game has some of the strangest NPC names I've ever seen in a video game. I don't know if it's for weird translations or like a character limit on the names, but, you know, here's some examples of some of the really, really weird names in this game. After navigating the absolute maze that is Pyrite Cave, we come face to face with the sexiest man, Mirabee. I wish I could have even a tenth of Mirabee's coolness. Anyway, he battles Wes with his 4 Ludicolo's. So, every boss battle in this game has a special gimmick to make them extra fun and interesting, which honestly here, gonna be honest, I wish they did that these days instead of just gym battles with, oh, they've only got water types or whatever, which is of course the tradition, but like, come on, you've got to admit, this is much better. Anyway, Mirabee's is that he has a rain team. All of his Pokemon, other than Sudowoodo, which is a shadow Pokemon, know Rain Dance, have water type moves, and either have Rain Dish or Swift Swim as their passive ability. Once we defeat Mirabee, we save Plusle, and apparently wants to join Wes's party. Unfortunately for Plusle, it will be spending the rest of its days locked inside of the PC with my highly aggressive, unpurified, unvaccinated shadow Pokemon. Now we've done everything we need to do in Pyrite Town, so we can leave and we never need to step foot in this cesspool ever again, which is very good, because I feel like if I stay here any longer, I will be brutally mutilated. Just as we leave, some ugly woman from the fortune teller house tells us to go to Agate City. Rui, who's apparently still here, tells Wes that that's where her grandparents live. I don't care. Agate Village is basically the complete and utter opposite of Pyrite Town. While Pyrite Town is hostile and filled with drug dealers and people who glue Lego bricks together, Agate Village is pretty much a glorified old people's home. I don't think anyone living here is under the age of 72. There's also a woman with a mighty Anna that says the following thing. I can't see your facial reaction, but I imagine it is the same as my one. Anyway, we visit Rui's dementia-ridden grandparents, Egan and Blair. I'm not kidding. That's her actual name. Rui's grandmother has a name that sounds like the onomatopoeia for throwing up. Anyway, after that, Wes finds out that Relic Forest, the home of Celebi, and the Relic Stone can be used for purification of shadow Pokemon. And that this place is swarming with Team Cypher, which isn't great. So we go in there, and we find out that they want to destroy the Relic Stone, as it's the only way that you can purify shadow Pokemon. Anyway, I'm more bewildered about the fact that they are an evil team in Pokemon, and they have absolutely no interest in capturing Celebi, the deity of time, because Celebi lives here. And this is the one time in a Pokemon game where the evil team has absolutely no interest in capturing a legendary Pokemon. Anyway, Wes beats up all of the Cypher goons. We proceed to watch Rui's grandfather and his Pikachu lose to a guy whose name is Scrub. And I think that might be the biggest insult that you could ever receive. Losing to a man that has the same name as an online colloquialism as being called a loser. Wes defeats Scrub because old people are silly and they can't even walk upstairs. Now we have access to the Relic Stone and we can make shadow Pokemon actually good by purifying them, because I'll be real here, shadow Pokemon are atrocious. I have no idea why Team Cypher thinks that they're so good. We also get an email from Duking, which, that's cool. Tells us that Cypher is also at Mount Battle, and that we need to sort it out because, plot. When Wes arrives at Mount Battle, the first thing that comes into view is a man running around in circles indefinitely. I can't really think of a fate worse than being condemned to run in circles until the end of time. We enter the reception, and luckily for us, there's no queue, although this may be due to the fact that the place is currently under a terrorist attack, which so far seems to be commonplace in Ore. There's quite a lot of trainers that we need to fight, but let's not talk about every individual random fight. I'm sure that street performer Nort, yes, that is a real character, has a tragic and emotional story, but I don't care, and neither does Wes. The boss of Mount Battle is Cypher admin Daykim. Cypher Admin Dakim is the hardest fight so far, by far. Let's talk about his unique strategy. Now almost all of his Pokemon know Protect and Earthquake, which allows his Pokemon to alternate between using Protect and Earthquake. Do you remember how earlier on I said that Earthquake was absolutely broken because it attacks all Pokemon on field? I didn't say this bit, but the one thing that's, stopping Earthquake from being super powerful is the fact that it hits all Pokemon, including your own. If you use Protect or have a Pokemon immune to ground type moves, then you don't get hit by them. So this guy is basically using these attacks and only hitting our Pokemon. There is no repercussions to his attacks, and he's absolutely obliterating us. So it's very good that Swablu has evolved into Altaria. She can still lullaby other Pokemon to sleep, but now she's even stronger, and she's a flying type, like she was last time, so we're not going to be hit by the earthquakes. The rest of my Pokemon are though, so I'm going to be very worried about that part. However, Dakim has one Pokemon that actually doesn't fit in this category, as it doesn't have Earthquake or Protect. Unfortunately, the Pokemon in question is a fucking level 40 Entei with Fire Blast and Sunny Day. Oh, and it's a Shadow Entei as well, so I need to catch it as well. This is why this is the hardest boss battle. The Earthquake and Protect stuff, pretty hard to deal with. But we've got a Mischievous and an Altaria. We'll be fine regarding that. It's still really dangerous, but at least I've got some kind of protection. But Entei with Sunny Day Fire Blast? I'm fucked. This is why this has been one of the hardest battles in this game, and it only gets worse from here. This is why this is often considered to be the most difficult Pokemon game, and it's for a very, very good reason. We do eventually catch the Entei and we defeat Dakim, and he proceeds to tell us to get serious about training our Pokemon, which is kinda stupid because we just beat his Pokemon into the ground and stole his Entei. I mean, I'll be real here. If I had an Entei and someone stole it from me, I'd be fucking livid. We return to Pirate Town and we go to the jail. However, instead of turning ourselves in for our various crimes against humanity, we take the prison key that was left on a desk and we go to talk to Duking. And then, to progress the story and therefore the game, you have to leave Pirate Town for no reason and then go into the new place called the Mystery Lab for no reason, and it's also completely inaccessible. Then, Wes will receive an email from Duking informing him that there's some people who have been locked up who are related to Mr. Sex himself, Mirror B, and that Wes needs to go back to Pirate Town, go to the jail, open all the cells, therefore freeing these people who are confirmed to be criminals, and then Wes needs to steal a key from one of them to then go back into the Pyrite building from earlier, and now use the now accessible lift to go to the Under. I have no idea how you would figure this out without help, without a guidebook, without the internet, and without a lot, and I do mean a lot, of trial and error. This is ridiculous, and it's probably the most convoluted part of the game. Which is, honestly here, even though I love this game to death, this game has got some serious problems, and this is one of them. We finally reach the Under, and I want to be real here, the Under is really cool. It is an underground city that's only known about by a few people, and has everything you could want in a city. Even a Colosseum. I'll be real here, I think it's bigger than, I think it's bigger than Phoenix City. I think it's bigger than quite a few of the cities in this game. Anyway, once Wes gets in, there's an announcement on the loudspeakers telling everyone that there are spies in the Under. That's us, by the way. We're the spies. Anyway, while Wes and Rui are poking around in Meander, we find some kid that gives us something called a power piece and tells us to give it to another kid. I have no idea why he can't just do it himself. Unrelated, there is also a kind of ruler in the underground called Venus, who everyone simps for, and she's definitely not the next boss. We deliver the power-up to this kid, and it's a good thing that we did, because this kid has set up an alliance against Team Cypher called the Kids Grid, yet further enforcing the tradition that only children can fight crime in the Pokémon world. And as we lead the Kids Grid, we find out that Silver from Pyrite Town is here for some reason, and he's been locked up, which means we have to save him. We do, and we just keep on going, because, yeah, fuck him. We eventually confront the third boss of the game, Venus. What a surprise. Anyway, she's also got a fun little gimmick. All of her Pokemon know Attract. So while Venus has loads of simps in Meander, her Pokemon can also make any other Pokemon simp for them too. Look. Pun not intended, I love the move Attract. It's my favourite one. But you don't need to give it to all of your Pokemon. I guess Venus just loves abusive romantic relationships. Fair enough, but it is a little bit annoying to see your Noctowl and Altaria get smitten by a Delcatty and a Bayonet for the entire battle. Venus also has a Suicune, which doesn't know Attract. It's not quite as dangerous as Dakem's Fire Blast Sunny Day Entei, but it's still very, very strong, and it's her strongest Pokemon by far. Anyway, we defeat her and we catch her Suicune, but she runs away like in that one meme.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
She also dropped the TM for Attract, which I gave to Espeon, which is the cutest evolution. She escapes and we get into a subway train and almost get fucking exploded to death by a bomb. But we leave and go to the mystery lab from earlier, which is now renamed to the Shadow Pokemon Lab. I have no idea how you'd know to go here, but you know, you can. We go in and we mess around with some keys and switches to get full access to the building. There isn't really much to do here other than beat up a load of nerds in lab coats, which is great because this means that we're close to another boss. And sure enough, we are. Cypher Admin Ein is our fourth boss, and much like everyone else, he's got a fun little gimmick too. And his is Rain, which is apparently different to Mirabee's. Trust me, it's different. He does it in a different way. You see, two of Ein's Pokemon know Rain Dance, which is a shame because Mirabee's all of his know Rain Dance. Anyway, Rain Dance lasts for 5 turns in Pokemon Colosseum. As you probably know, Rain Dance increases the power of water-type attacks, which sucks for me because Ein's Lantern has Hydro Pump and his Huntail knows Surf. However, his final Pokemon is Shadow Raikou, which can use Thunder. Now, in the rain, Thunder's damage is not increased. However, what is changed is its accuracy. It goes from 70%, which is pretty bad, to always hitting. So this is I think it's 120 power move, which now hits every time it's used and will kill almost every time. This is insane, and it's another reason why Pokemon Colosseum is so difficult. After a couple of tries, we catch Raikou and defeat Ein, who proceeds to run away like in that one scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. After doing this, we head to our next and final destination, Railgun Tower. Our journey is coming to an end. We beat up the goons in there and we come to this big ass lock on a door. We need a blue key, a yellow key, a red key, and a green key to get through, but some random fucker on YouTube Shorts will probably claim that they can pick it. After a bit of searching, we come across Venus, and she has the boot key. But we need to beat her first. She doesn't have Suicune anymore, which is good, but she does still spam Attract. I do think that her Wigglytuff may be going a little bit overboard with this whole seduction, infatuation, love thing. Wigglytuff has Attract, Sweet Kiss, and the passive ability Cute Charm. She can... What the hell is this? Why is Venus's Wigglytuff completely optimized around physical affection? Anyway, after her Pokemon pretty much just seduce all of my Pokemon for 20 minutes straight, I kill all of her pets and I get the blue key, as it is terrorist policy that any keys that you're holding must be given to the person that you beat up. Ein is next, and he was easy. I beat him in one try, and now we have the yellow key. Then Dakim, and he's probably going to be the hardest battle. Actually, no, he's not. I've got 2 flying types. I'm absolutely fine. His whole strategy revolves around using Earthquake. We beat him with no difficulty, and we get the green key. And then, finally, Mr. Sex himself, Mirabee. Unfortunately, Mirabee has changed as a person. What a shame. He no longer uses 4 Licolo, but he only uses 2 instead. I feel like my whole life is a lie, and being lied to makes me angry. So angry, in fact, that I kill all of his Pokemon, I take his key and walk out. And once we reach the big door again, some random Cypher peon shows up. And clearly he didn't see me, beat all 4 of the Cypher admins in quick succession. Anyway, we get through the door and beat all the random guys in there before eventually being confronted by Nazgul, which is a Sephiroth-looking guy from the start of the game. He tells us to enter the rooftop Colosseum. Oh yeah, Realmgum Tower has a rooftop Colosseum and it's just as cool as it sounds. Right as we're about to enter the lift to the rooftop Colosseum, a strange, bald man gets out of the lift. This man is Gonzap, the leader of Team Snagam and the 8th boss of the game. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a cool gimmick, which is a massive shame. He's one of the only bosses in this game, and he's the only one so far that doesn't have a cool gimmick. And he's really easy to beat too, he's barely a boss. Unfortunately, when you actually arrive at the rooftop Colosseum, you have to battle 4 random people before anything interesting happens, because, I don't know. Anyway, we get to fight Nazgul, the 9th boss of Pokemon Colosseum. Nazgul also has no fun gimmick. What's up with that? He's definitely the most difficult boss battle so far, and he's got a Shadow Metagross. Although you can do what I did, and you can just throw a Master Ball at him, because Rui's grandfather gave you a Master Ball. I didn't mention that, but she did just a couple minutes ago. Anyway, Nazgul's Pokemon are hyper-offensive, even more so than the 2016 animated film Sausage Party, which you should never, ever watch, even if you're watching all the films I mentioned for whatever reason. Don't. Anyway, I thought I'd mention his Walrein has Attract. I just thought it was weird that this super evil guy has a Pokemon with a move that can cause other Pokemon to fall in love. That's weird, right? Surely I'm not the only one who thinks that is a bit weird. Eventually, I beat NASCAR, but he starts apologizing? And then Escade shows up. The random mayor from the start of the game is the secret leader of Team Cypher. Evers. Luckily for me, he does have a fun gimmick. Unfortunately for me, it is the most dangerous one by far. You see, Evers's best Pokemon is a Slacking, a Pokemon with higher attack stats and higher stats in general than most legendary Pokemon. The only thing that stops it from killing everyone you love is its passive ability Truant, which disables it from moving every other turn. Which was also the same passive ability I had when I was doing my GCSEs. Now, That's not so bad, right? You can just destroy him every other turn and just protect every other one, and then you're fine, you live. Evis also has a Slowking with the move Skill Swap, which removes Slowking's Truant, making it, and I'm not kidding, the most powerful Pokemon in the entire game. Evis has some other really strong Pokemon too, like a Shadow Tyranitar, a Sizzle with Swords Dance, or a Salamence with Dragon Dance, or a Machamp with Bulk Up. This is the hardest battle in the game, and a very, very strong contender of the hardest battle in any Pokemon game ever. I did eventually beat Evis, and he tries to escape in a helicopter, which is promptly obliterated by Ho-Oh, who is here for some reason. I'm pretty sure this is the only time they ever show a character die on screen in a Pokemon game. You know, people used to bully me a lot, and then they found out that I beat Pokemon Colosseum, and now they still do. Anyway, that was Pokemon Colosseum. Who am I kidding? It's a 10 out of 10 from me. I love it, and I always will. Subscribe, like, and comment on other positive things, or Wes is going to explode your house with your family still inside it. Goodbye, people.